Hey, welcome to the show today. It's the Doctor of Digital podcast, and a special guest today. I was able to manage to get Carlo Rivis in today. I know he's been a busy person, but I managed to get hold of him. And what I want to do is tell you a little bit about his background, because this is somebody I definitely had to get on the show. So he is a business Sherpa. For some of you who don't know what that is, maybe you can explain a little bit. What is a Sherpa? So a tech, also an entrepreneur. He's an innovator. He's a deep tech visionary. He's had 17 years plus years guiding CEOs and others, enriching their skills and to grow their companies, becoming sector leaders. So definitely in tune with the kinds of things that I do in the Doctor of Digital podcast. So I'm really happy that he is here today. So what is the Doctor of Digital podcast? So if this is the first time you're listening, this is the show that is for a person who wants to grow their business using social audio. Now that may be primarily podcasting, but there's also, and maybe Carlo can address this, some innovative ways to use audio, because we have things like Alexa, what have you, marketing on audio, all kinds of ways that people, since they've been home, with the pandemic and other things, they are listening more than ever before. So this is the show for you. And if you listen to the very end, I've also got a complimentary offer. So stick around to the very end. This is the show that provides you individuals, people, and information now so that you can benefit later. So with that as a background, let me tell you a little bit about Carlo. Now, he is from San Diego, just like, if you can see, no, I guess you can't because we're podcasting. Right behind me, the largest mountain in San Diego, in the city, Coles Mountain, is right behind me. He's from San Diego, but if you listen to his speech pattern, you might get a hint that he is not necessarily from San Diego, but he's here now, so we're lucky to have him. Now, he's run international teams. He also, very interestingly, he has an ethical life code. Now, that's a very fascinating thing, because not everybody is talking about ethics these days, but Carlo certainly is. He is a CEO, Innovation Discovery. He's been there for over 6 years. He's published, he's got patents, all kinds of great things. So with that as a basic introduction, Carlo, thank you for taking out some time from your busy schedule. Welcome to the show today. Can you tell us a little bit about your background and how is it you got into all these things, like being a Sherpa?
No, sure. Thank you, Mick, for inviting me. I'm really happy to be here. And you did a great introduction of myself. So, let's speak about general stuff. So I started with a degree in applied computer science that was applied to business. And so the thing was to apply, create some managers able to digitalize the businesses, because 17 years ago, digitalization was not a topic, a hot topic in the air. From there, I started immediately my first business that lasted 10 years and allowed me to run several stuff in the entertainment. Was not a digital business, but technology was always involved in my business. And I also collaborate with tons of different companies on the side to train professionally others in technologies and to run, projects as a project managers for companies and so on. And also I continue to develop some stuff, because technology was always part of my life, of my daily life. I was always curious about technology and innovation. And I come from Italy originally, as I told you. My accent is particular, and
never would have known.
I started from Italy, but then I moved to the US, where I opened my headquarters in San Diego in the past. And here I starting becoming curious about startups, because in Italy was not something that was really popular there at that age. And so I spent time in Silicon Valley learning about startups, how building startups and technology stuff and so on. And then I dedicated my life on that, because what makes me crazy is seeing that every day innovations comes to light, but we struggle with adoption. We continue to use obsolete technologies in our daily life. And also companies, the same. They are really slow in adoption. They need years before adapting some new technologies. And I wanted to, accelerate this process. And so for the following years, I ran different businesses in different fields, mostly with startups, promoting all around the world. So I have a chance to arrive from Asia, Europe, and US with my startups, talking with investors and so on, and becoming proficient with technologies, because I spent tons of times with founders today. So normally part of my job is going out, speak with founders, stay up to date about what is going on into the market. And thanks to my natural capacities to connecting dots and see beyond innovations, I'm able to find complex solutions. So to solve complex problems. This is what is, fortunately, I have a network capacities of that. And thanks to the background, to the eclectic backgrounds that I built during the years, I arrived to focusing just on innovation. And so in the last years, I grew up these capacities. The company Innovation Discovery grew up a lot, becoming a reference point for innovations. And now, after 17 years of tech entrepreneurship, I decided to slow down my business activities, my entrepreneur activities, and focusing more on my Business Sherpa activities, helping others building their own companies, helping them designing innovations, understanding how digitalize their company, bring more technology on the company, and helping them go to the market with this new level of companies. And the goal is to take 100 companies in the next 10 years and helping them becoming the top leaders in their field.
Okay. Now, this is kind of interesting. I mean, since this is innovation and, you're in the tech field, there's a lot of things that are happening. If you could narrow down, because I know this may be a difficult question for you to answer. I mean, 6 years running your own company, 17 years in technology, what would you say are some of the biggest changes that you've seen over the course of a very technologically dynamic field? What has changed in the course of your career, let's say?
We are more, we are speaking, so technology, innovations, digitalization now is part of our languages, daily languages. And it's true that we have done a lot in digitalizations, but in technology, we are still struggling, What is missing is the changing of the mindset. Today, everyone's speaking about innovations. Companies are investing a lot of time in technology scouting, innovation processes, and technology adoption. But in the end, the process is not optimized. And they are really struggling to figure out how changing the mindset to make this real. And we can see, into almost every market when small startups arrived in 5 years, maybe can disrupt a market and become the leader on that market. Why? Because the large corporations are struggling in changing the mindset. We are not really ready to adapt all these changes. So it's changed a lot in sense of technologies available on digitalization available and so on, but we are not changing the mindset that is the biggest issues today in innovation.
It's an interesting point. So if you were going to say, could you change mindsets? What would you say, like for those people who are forward thinking as you are and companies that are attuned to that, what would you say are some of those hot growth areas and what kinds of things ought they to be looking for if they would like to be innovative?
So are you saying like technologies?
Yes.
Okay. So it's of course depends field by field, because this is the fact, that for example, in life science, we are not using a lot of mathematical modeling and computers in performing medical research. We are still related to animals and the real humans test. When in other fields, for example, in aviation, they start everything from a computer. They build an entire airplane on the computer, and they have also digital twin of the airplane to simulate all the casuistics. Now, is it possible also? Is it still possible? Is already possible on the life science, but they are doing that, So it's really depends field by field what you have to focus on. But what is important is going out, be curious, and continue to try to search something and run proof of concept and to test something inside every field every day, because there are already better solutions everywhere.
Mhm.
So in all the fields, and some part of the world are really good in something, and other parts of the world are really far away from on the same thing.
Mhm.
And it's not because of the price, it's not because of efficiency and so on. It's just because of the mindset to, going out, be curious, and bring something to adapt today.
Right. You work with companies, and that's one of the things that you do. So let's say that there is a business owner, a CEO, and what would you recommend that they would consider when they're thinking of being innovative and trying to tie some of the insights that you've seen? And what would you recommend that they start thinking about, or what should they be anticipating at this time?
So one of the things is be open, be curious on the external. Sometimes also the best company in the world, also the best genius in the world on a specific field is too focused on itself and what he is doing. But today innovations arrive from everywhere, and is not inside your field, maybe inside other fields, maybe
Right.
is in another country, also a poor country. That today is incredible because we are in a level of humanity where also genius born everywhere, and also without really, they don't need a really deep background in a fancy university, whatever.
Mhm.
So you really have to go out and collecting feedbacks, different point of views to really going to the next level. Because maybe, yes, you have the right intuition, maybe you have the right talents on board, but having different point of views help you in growing faster and going to the next level. Otherwise, it's